In terms of cool, hip vampire movies to come out in the late 80s, Joel Schumacher's The Lost Boys is usually the go to. It had an interesting story, cool characters, and some young talent in Kiefer Sutherland and Corey Feldman. However, believe it or not, there was actually another that came out the same year and had a similar type of vampire, Catherine Bigelow's Near Dark. Yes, that Catherine Bigelow. However, here the story differs. Near Dark is about a guy who falls for a young woman in a small town. He tries to woo her, but it turns out she's a vampire and eventually bites him on the neck. Because of this, country boy Caleb Colton has to leave his family behind and ride with a pack of vampire drifters to satisfy his quench for human blood. Near Dark is a very interesting horror film. It's more complex than anything. It has some great drama, some good comedy, a touching romance, some good horror, and even hints of western here and there. Adrian Pasdar is very likable as the charming country boy Caleb. We see him as this young, confident guy at first, but then when he does get bitten and we see his world fall apart, it's nothing short of heartbreaking, forcing him to do terrible things in order to survive, and just end up feeling more and more sorry for him. However, despite being evil bastards, the group of vampires are also really likable. Lance Henriksen, Jeanette Goldstein, and Joshua Miller are the vampires, and they all do a good job. Ironically, on a side note, Joshua Miller ended up writing The Final Girls, another film I did this past month. Kinda cool. However, the vampire that steals the show is definitely Bill Paxton as Severin. He is such an evil asshole, yet you can't help but laugh when he's on screen. He really steals the show and makes this movie, despite despite not being in the movie for a ton of the running time. Jenny Wright does a good job as May and is a good companion for Caleb. She feels like the only vampire that still has a soul left, yet she still isn't afraid to kill someone when necessary. The love story between Caleb and May is a bit forced at first, but it's still nice to see them together, and they have good chemistry with one another. The makeup is fantastic when the vamps get all burned and shit. It's really cool. However, the actual fire effects look a bit dated and kind of fake looking. The story is very unconventional, as there really isn't a goal, it's more so just Caleb trying to live as a vampire. The movie could have benefited from a longer running time to develop some of the characters a bit more. However, it's still a great vampire movie that deserves a little bit more recognition.